So as a former proud Zune owner, I had to react to a video about how Microsoft sucks at everything because frankly, the Zune was better in every way than the iPod except for its marketing. Otherwise, it was a vastly superior product, but I'm curious what this video has to say.
Okay, so maybe that title is a bit hyperbolic, but just hear me out, okay? Apple, Amazon, Meta, Google. Out of all of the soulless billion-dollar tech corporations that run our daily lives, Microsoft...
All right, already valid point. Yes, these all run our lives, and they're probably ruining it, at least not as hardcore as Instagram, even though Meta owns Instagram, so I guess that's a mute point.
Easily annoys me the most. Apple is definitely gonna gouge my eyes out with their ridiculous pricing, but hey, at least I can rely on their products to actually function properly during my daily life. Amazon is run by what appears to be a literal real-life human supervillain and has definitely negatively impacted our consumerist materialist culture of buy. But
I always compare Jeff Bezos to Lex Luthor because it is a one-for-one comparison.
You're telling me this HDMI cord could be inside of my body in 20 minutes? Yeah, Bezos. Google is perfect, not evil at all. Please let me keep making my silly programs. I love you, mama. I'll be so sweet to you. And Meta... Okay, I might actually hate Meta the most, but at least on Instagram, I could send that one reel of the Monster Energy tattoo guys to my friends over and over and over. I mean, hell. But Microsoft, like, where do I even begin?
That is 90% of what I do on Instagram is just sending ridiculous memes to my friends, and I don't even post on it very much at all.
Internet Explorer? Internet Explorer 2, the edging, Windows Vista, Windows 8, Windows Surface, Windows Phone, games for Windows Live, Xbox 360 Red Ring of Death, Xbox Connect, Xbox One, Xbox One S, Xbox One X, Xbox Series S, Xbox Series X, Xbox...
All right. Just by the naming conventions alone, I got to call out that one, Microsoft is terrible at naming stuff. They're bad at that because the Xbox Series lineup, whatever, that naming convention is garbage. Two, I am a software engineer by trade, and I hated Internet Explorer, but the more recent Microsoft Edge now basically just uses Chromium, which is just Chrome. But on top of that, I have recently been enjoying their search engine, Bing, more than Google search, because Google search has been like, people are gamifying how to make their results pop up as quickly as possible on there, and also it's filled with sponsors more than anything else nowadays. So I have been leaning against Google as far as my search engine lately, which is something I never thought I'd say. But let me continue.
Xbox One Series S, Xbox Stroke? Am I having one right now? How the fuck did they think these were a good idea for branding names? Master Chief didn't die for this. Are you an Xbox One? Series D stands for Dottie. So cute, so good. So many teraflops. These are your 2 teraflops. You flap in the wind. I got a dog. I have friends and family that work at some of the many companies collected by Microsoft, and I do not think that they suck. Quite frankly, I think that they're the opposite of suck, which as we all know is coos. But Microsoft as a whole, in the big picture decisions and products and services they claim to provide. Are you to be do joke onto me right now in front of my dog? The company that tries to monopolize every possible realm it enters. The company that tries to force feed the worst internet browser ever down your throat, famous.
It's not the best internet browser, but it has improved. But I'm not trying to make a case for Internet Explorer. I still use Chrome 99.9% of the time. So whatever, even though in a lot of ways Firefox tends to be better, but they're having issues lately too.
For its wonderful security flaws in general, how you say not work so good too much. The company who is hell-bent on collecting other companies like Pokemon gym badges with the fervor of a spoiled child's unquenchable, eternal, unyielding, infinite thirst for more. Give me more.
What every company does?
Shut up, Britney Spears.
I appreciate this criticism.
Microsoft forever changed the modern world with Windows. I grew up on Windows PCs because my dad was always programming C# and C++ at the ops for work, so us kids would get the hand-me-down PCs. I drew on the Cougar wallpaper in Paint. I flicked the Space Pinball guy's beam clean off.
I didn't have regular access to internet as a kid, and that pinball game was like a godsend until I could actually get real games on occasion.
Made the most badass edits of video games you've ever seen in Windows Movie Maker. And Windows has never been perfect. It has always been prone to blue screening and chugging and trying to off itself in various fun ways. XP was not this perfect, fucking ancient specimen to be studied in Prometheus just because we're all nostalgic for it, okay? And having LimeWire Pro installed definitely didn't help. But now I also have this gaming laptop that has Windows 11 on it, and it makes me afraid to use it near 11 Windows because I might do a little toss out of it, huh? Compared to even Windows 10, everything just feels like it takes longer to load and is harder to find. More and more.
I will say I hate the newest version of Windows. It's like they wanted to simplify things so much that they suddenly made it worse because now you can't find anything. And it's so frustrating as a regular Windows user. So I will accept this point, very much so. But that being said, a lot of the issues with Windows versus something like Mac, because that's the only real alternative unless you're going with a Linux browser or Linux operating system, is it's not really as easily comparable because Mac just gates everything that they put on their PCs or their computers. It's like you just can't get the same stuff. There's not as much open source software. So of course there's going to be issues because anybody can contribute to it. And that's kind of the beauty of Microsoft's operating system. But whatever.
More options are getting buried deeper and deeper into these advanced menus in some half-baked attempt to make shit more accessible, but really, it's just made that shit more ass-edible. Hi, I'm 29. Copy and paste the critical function that has been in this little menu since the beginning of Dinotopia Season 1. Yeah,
so
they're cute little icons now. Aw, that's so adorable. I'm gonna throw up my lunch. Why does the refresh rate keep defaulting to 30 hertz? Most people don't even know what that is and aren't gonna know how to fucking change it because it's buried within these advanced menus. This little bitch wants me to do updates every other second, and there doesn't seem to be an actual reliable way to disable automatic updates in Windows 11. I tried disabling update services. I got all up in that registry. I moved to a cabin in the woods and somehow Michael found me. Stop it, Michael, I don't want to update. Windows Vista, holy shista. Windows 7 was a brief beacon of light, but everything since has been a cacophony of clown-inspired buffoonery scientifically engineered to be as optimally annoying to me as possible. Do we even need to talk about Windows 8? You want to click on some panels, little dude? You want me to get you a Windows Surface Arc?
Windows 8 was so infuriating because they just made it for touchscreens, but then forced it to everybody. So, all right, if he's only going to be talking about Windows this whole video, which I'm assuming he's going to go through a lot because there's plenty more in this video, but there are plenty of issues that Windows has, and I will accept that as a concept.
RT for your birthday, little man, which runs Windows RT, which looks exactly like Windows 8, except it's not. No, it's cool. You can only install apps directly from the store, and most of them aren't the right version. And dude, are you feeling okay? Little man, you barely touched your panels. Man, that guy's shirt looks cool as hell. Oh, god damn it, Clippy. I am the one who interrupts his videos, okay? Not you. Yeah, that's a good little paperclip. Roll up into your fucking bike. Fuck off. Hi, I'm Jakey, and Jakey, attorneys at law. Thanks to Opera GX for sponsoring this video. Internet browsers are so cool, amazing. Emails, images, websites to research if there's a demonic presence in your home. But this boring browser is putting me to sleep, and I really need to do that demonic research stuff. Opera GX is a web browser for gamers that is not boring, and you will listen this time, Duncan. I didn't forget, you little shit. Opera GX has GX.
As a software engineer, I have used Opera plenty. I don't default to it just because I wind up using Chrome extensions so often and they don't always work well with Opera. But Opera is a great alternative, so I will definitely support this, even though I know it's an ad break, but I don't want to take an ad break away from some other creator.
mods that can totally switch your whole shit up. In the GX store, you'll find loads of mods, including the Nakey Jakey one. The mod has its own background music, its own keyboard sounds, its own opening and closing of tab sounds, its own theme and colors of the browser, its own dedicated wallpaper. You can also enable and disable individual mods in the mods menu located on the sidebar. With GX Control, I can limit the amount of CPU or RAM my demonic research web browser tabs get to use so that they don't hurt my gaming performance on top of my mental well-being. Other browsers hog up my resources like little pig hogs, but not Opera GX. Opera GX also comes with a quick import tool that lets you haul all of your stuff from your old browser, like browsing history, bookmarks for demon research sites, and cookies on over to Opera GX. It's also compatible with every Google Chrome extension. Thanks to Opera GX for sponsoring this video, and use my special link down below to download Opera GX today. After my wife left, I've been receiving mysterious emails that only contain a singular link to a website written in Latin. And I click that link, and my life has not been the same. There is someone or something else in this house. I can't prove it, but you have to believe it. Speaking of internet browsers, do you remember that time when Microsoft was taken to court by the US government over antitrust claims that they were making it harder to install an alternative internet browser instead of their piece of shit Internet Explorer? And Microsoft doctored footage claiming that if you uninstalled Internet Explorer, it would make Windows run worse and slower, but the government was like, did you fake that? And they were like, yeah. And then they provided another video claiming how easy it was to install an alternative browser like Netscape. But whoops, that footage conveniently left out a really lengthy and difficult part of the installation process, and the government was like, did you fake that too? And they were like, yeah. I feel extremely fortunate.
It's kind of hard to call that out when Google was sued for the exact same thing very recently, in forcing people to use Google's search on every Android phone. So I'm not trying to do a whataboutism, but I can't help it there because it's kind of a big thing that major corporations do a lot.
That my daily work doesn't require Microsoft insert app name here that somehow gets worse with every iteration and doesn't do the things it's literally made to do. I wrote this script in Google Docs for free with 0 issues. See, Google, I love you. Please let me keep my career. Let's talk about Microsoft Teams, another case where Microsoft looked at something that someone else did and said, oh, I could do that too because I have money. Slack was popping off. Microsoft said, oh, let's do that too, but make it worse and include it for free in our Microsoft 365 bundle that a lot of businesses are already paying for. Obviously, those businesses trying to maximize profits are going to be like, why are we paying for Slack and Teams? Let's just use Teams. Slack usage goes down, they get acquired by Salesforce, and then what do you know? Microsoft eventually removes Teams from the bundle after antitrust scrutiny in the EU. God, that's like the definition of, it's like the name of a board game. Yahtzee, no, Balderdash.
Yeah, it is crappy the way they went around it, but I never had a huge problem with Teams or Slack. Everybody complained about it, but for what it was, it did its job. But I understand that there was a lot more that you could connect to Slack, so whatever.
Oh, I got it.
Betrayal at House on the Hill.
Okay, but what really gets my panties into a honey bunch of oats is Microsoft's approach when it comes to gaming on my Roach. Roach as in my PC. Most of us use Windows to game because it's what most games natively run on and have run on for like a billion years, making Windows this necessary evil that's been grandfathered in by our forefathers getting multi-kills on Quake, which is fortunately changing with stuff like Linux and Proton, shout out Valve and my Bellatra, my Steam Deck. But every half-baked attempt Microsoft has made to capitalize on that massive existing gaming audience on Windows has only pushed that audience further away toward other avenues that actually work, namely Steam. I played Halo 2 for Windows Vista. I played Dark Souls Prepare to Use Games for Windows Live Edition, okay? Maybe you've heard about how bad Games for Windows Live was, and let me tell you, people are not exaggerating. The infinite logging in loops, the crashes, the absolutely iconic Microsoft trait of apparently needing an update, but I guess it didn't actually update, so it's just stuck in this infinite loop. That's where they got the name. The modern Xbox app on PC is marginally better, and I actually have...
This is true for absolutely every gaming app other than Steam. I had the one that I had somebody install the one on my computer because they wanted to play The Sims, and I think EA owns Sims, and because EA had their own platform, if you wanted to play it through it, it would just crash your computer entirely, and it was brutal and terrible. Every gaming platform that doesn't just try to use Steam or have a direct installer has always been a nightmare. I do not like Blizzards. I do not like Windows. I do not like the EA one, whatever God forbid thing that is. I don't like any of them other than Steam. Steam is very clean cut. It does its job. Just accept Steam for what it is. I know that a lot of these game companies don't want to do that because they don't want to pay to have their games on the Steam store. But you are probably big enough that you could make some sort of deal with Steam and have some sort of exclusivity and get around all that 90% of the time and not have to support your own installer and game platform thing. Because if you did that, it would save you a lot of headache internally, and then you would just be able to make a deal and it'd be done. But whatever. Companies are just trying to milk whatever they can, even if it, in the end, costs them more money.
Have some positive stuff to say about Game Pass later on, but this app still just doesn't work how it should, and half the time it has to be used in conjunction with the Microsoft Store app. Oh golly gee. And now you're claiming Minecraft isn't even installed. All I want to do is play with my nephew. He's 8 years old and it works perfectly on his iPad. How is it this fucking, fuck it, we'll do it live. I'm playing on my phone. Like, if video games are practically my job and I struggle to troubleshoot this shit, what the fuck do you expect like a casual grandma gamer to do on PC? No offense to my CGGs out there, okay? Steam is far and above the preferred gaming platform on PC for most because it has that Apple trait of it just works for the most part. Everything is located in one app that intuitively makes sense to navigate regardless of your Radio Shack ELO. Xbox on PC mirrors the same pattern as Xbox on Xbox, and that pattern is the AK spray pattern from Counter-Strike aimed directly at their own football.
I won't argue that Xbox doesn't suck because I've always been a PlayStation user. I feel like he's never going to get to the Zune. I want him to talk about the Zune.
I love Xbox. That's probably not the sentiment you're gonna walk away from this video with, but I have owned several. I've had the pleasure of many Xboxes and I loved them. But holy shit, Xbox has been scoring own goals for a while now, and it's extremely frustrating to spectate from the Rocket League stands. Xbox was the new kid on the block during the 6th generation and still managed to outsell the GameCube and Dreamcast, as adorable as they both are. And do you know the biggest reason why? I mean, do I even gotta say? It was the big ass it was the Duke.
Those controllers sucked so bad. But yeah, it was Halo.
Baby. Halo gave people a strong enough reason to buy an Xbox, and that's one game. Arguably the greatest console FPS game of all time, and holy shit, now I can play Halo Online with Halo 2 for a fee, which honestly, fuck Microsoft for that, but whatever. And thanks to Halo, Xbox would cultivate a solid base of gamers interested in more mature, cutting-edge PC-type games like Knights of the Old Republic, Fable, Splinter Cell, time-traveling cat fantasy, a home console that can run PC games without shitting itself. Sorry, PS2. Xbox is showing that they got something to say in the living room too. And then we get to the Xbox 360.
Some people crap on the PlayStation 2 and say that it would crap out on them. I've never once had that issue. And the only people that I saw that did have that issue just basically clogged up their PlayStations with dust. So that might have been self-inflicted.
Era. Xbox came out swinging, launching their console a full year before Sony in November 2005 with a solid lineup of launch titles, but mostly Call of Duty 2. I remember playing this game in the Rushmore Mall in Rapid City, South Dakota, and just being absolutely blown away by how realistic the graphics looked in this opening scene. Even though now the lack of ray tracing in DLSS seriously makes me want to scream as loud as I can. And what's this? The Xbox gets another killer IP called Gears of War right as the PS3 launches a year later? F the PS3 and its
I never had an Xbox of any kind, and I was always jealous when I saw people playing Gears of War. It just looked so badass.
$599 enemy crab. I don't want to play any of these games. The PS3 was more expensive. It had the confusing cell architecture that devs hated programming for and generally made multi-platform games run worse. It used the Spider-Man 3 font. It had 6-axis motion in the controllers, but no vibration because of a legal issue. Well, what do you expect me to pleasure myself with now, Sony? Well, one of these. The 360 in 2007 had monumental games like Halo 3 that you actually wanted to play. Even though OG 360s would eventually start red ringing of deathing themselves with a failure rate of 54%, which, Jesus Christ, only Michael could manage that shit. 360 at the time.
I had a roommate in college who had these, which is telling how old I am. But I think he went through 2 or 3 Xboxes in like 1 year because every one of them red ringed. It was terrible luck.
Time was the console to get. But even with all of this stacked against the PS3, it arguably ended up back on top by the end of the generation because Microsoft just had to be Microsoft. I mean, if we're being real, though, we absolutely shitted on both of them when it comes to sales, but we're not talking about that right now. The PS3 had a really rocky start, but said, all right, fuck all that. Let's hit a rebrand and a price drop. Let's do actually funny marketing with Kevin Butler. Let's bring back vibration with the DualShock 3. I know that's right. That's gonna feel good. But more important than any of this shit, let's do the PlayStation thing of having consistently high quality console selling exclusives. Metal Gear Solid 4, Little Big Planet, Uncharted 2, God of War 3, Jason Shawn! Maybe not that last one.
God of War 3 was amazing, and it was like the last major iteration of God of War before the next generation of God of War, but still it was so damn good. I remember playing that, and you like pushed in the joysticks and it gouged out somebody's eyes, and I was like, oh my god, that felt too real.
Fuck that last one. Where my David Cagers at in the chat? Let's all go get Detroit tattoos. Meanwhile, the 360 is like, here's another Halo. Awesome. And here's another Gears of War. Right on. I like that too. And this time the console won't try to blow itself up. And please buy a Kinect. Beyond the 2 souls of Halo and Gears of War, shout out motherfucking David motherfucking Cage, there weren't these massive, never before seen Uncharted 2 sized.
Well, there's one major issue that he's probably not going to touch on, and that's because there's a reason behind most of this, which is PlayStation had a lot of great exclusives. Xbox had some good exclusives with Halo and Gears of War, and on top of that, Microsoft did allow most of their games to be playable on PC, so you were kind of hurting your own console gaming market. But on top of that, if you wanted any Japanese developed games, you had to go to PlayStation, because most of the time they wouldn't bother developing it for Xbox, because Xboxes didn't really sell very well in Japan because everybody played the Sony PlayStation because Sony is a Japanese company. But if you wanted things like Final Fantasy or any other random JRPG, which I know doesn't take up like a giant section of the market in the US, but it still takes up a significant one. And not to mention, it was backwards compatible. So you could play all of your PlayStation 2 games, and PlayStation 2 was the best-selling console of all time. So kind of hard to compete with that.
Exclusives getting you to race out and buy an Xbox as the generation went on. Banjo-Kazooie, nuts and bolts, Blue Dragon, Forza. I love Forza. I've always loved the Forza series, but I also love Gran Turismo. Also, I really don't want to come off as biased for any of these brands because fuck console wars. The whole idea of being loyal to a brand that doesn't give a shit about you is like the most embarrassing shit ever. Both of these guys would cut your head off in a second if it made their quarterly earnings go up. Stop pre-ordering games. They only care about your money. Only pre-order David Cage games. At the end of the day, everybody just wants to make money, including me, which is why Ball Creative partnered with those Jakey fucks to make some high quality garments. T-shirt featuring brilliant illustration by my cousin John. Thank you, John. I love you, John. Printed on LA Apparel 6.5 heavy blanks. That might not mean anything to you, but they're like my favorite blank of t-shirt. Turned out great. Call My Lawyer's embroidered crew neck. That's right, embroidered. Also printed on LA Apparel heavyweight blanks. If you know, you got like the rom-com merch, it's that shit. It's that heavy, delicious. They turn out great. If you're interested, ballcreative.store, powered by Xbox One Series J, attorneys at law, Master Chief Edition. Let's get back to the shit. I loved my Xbox 360, okay? But let's be real. Exclusives like Viva Pinata and Halo Wars don't exactly sell consoles like The Last of Us does. See, the thing that Microsoft would look at all this and go, okay, it seems like having really...
I feel like Xbox just generally wasn't focusing on story-driven games. They were all about the action, and that's why Xbox became more of like the bro console, because it was like, oh, action, explosions, blah, blah, blah. But PlayStation really drove forward a lot more storytelling and nuances, and Wii was just about fun. But yeah.
Really high quality exclusive games is pretty crucial to selling console to then play said games. So with that said, here's a fugly ass media box you can watch stuff on. That's what you think of when you think of Xbox, right? Not the fucking...
Oh, and speaking of media, the Xbox 360 only supported HD DVD, and PlayStation had Blu-ray, which was also a big selling point, because if you wanted a good Blu-ray player, it was going to be about the same price as a lot of PlayStations, but that doesn't matter anymore because everything's digital.
Melee Covenant sound, but watching the Price is right? Also, it's going to require the Kinect to be plugged in at all times, and you can't share game discs anymore with your friends. And oh yeah, we're going to call it the Xbox One to confuse the shit out of the CGGs out there. Sorry, Nana.
Yes,
your
very
KD is fucked, you senile silver too. Xbox would go back on the can't share discs thing and the Kinect always having to be plugged in because people rightfully lose their shit. But Microsoft still launches Xbone forcefully bundled with Kinect in November 2013 for $499. Okay. So what exclusives have you cooked up, Microsoft? Another Forza? Okay,
Nobody cares that much about racing games 90% of the time.
Year? Oh, more Halo by 343. Oh,
unless you're one of those dudes that has like the full-blown like immersive setup where you have like a full-on rig in your house, most of the time you do not care about racing games. I don't know anybody that has like been all about racing games in my entire life, and I only ever really played them slightly in like middle school. But whatever.
Oh, it's the OG games remastered with like multiplayer playlists. Oh, that's really cool. Okay, that has my attention. Oh, it doesn't work? It like really doesn't work? Your flagship franchise used to sell consoles doesn't fucking work even when it's old games being repackaged? Just imagine for a second if Nintendo released a Mario game and he just couldn't jump. He just spent the whole game looking for a server to not jump on. Whether it's on 343 or Microsoft, and I strongly lean towards it being on Daddy Microsoft, you can't release your main shit and have it be this bad. And I don't care that the collection is great now, that trash was unacceptable. Phil Spencer would become head of Xbox in March of 2014 and inherit the shit show that was the Xbox One. And Phil made some great decisions given what he was handed. He deleted the Kinect from the console bundle and dropped the price down to $399. He made a huge push for backwards compatibility, which is amazing to this day that you can play like OG Xbox games at higher resolutions and frame rates. It's awesome. He hit a console redesign with the Xbox One S, which even though I hate the names for these things, I really love this console. It's really hard. I really love this console. I think she's very well built. I think she's adorable. I mean, obviously she withstood that. We got some ports. But his main big idea is Game Pass. Phil said...
So I do think that backwards compatibility is very important with new consoles. It will help you sell a console to an insane degree, because I don't want, unless you're like a game collector, I don't want 1,000 different consoles in my house. I just want one console that I can play most of my games on, and if I can connect my account with it to just play the games I already have, even better. That being said, I really hate the design of the new PlayStation because of how it's like curved and has to have that weird stand. It's very frustrating. It may be lame looking to just have a square thing like Xbox, but at least it easily sets up pretty much anywhere you want. Whatever.
Xbox isn't just a box anymore, you silly bastards. It's a games service. A monthly service to play a bunch of games to your heart's desire, sort of like a Netflix for games, except your ex-girlfriend's boyfriend isn't still using your login on his Roku TV. It became increasingly clear that Xbox wasn't planning on winning customers by having console exclusives. Seriously, this is the Wikipedia page for games exclusive to only the Xbox One for the entire generation. Meanwhile, PS4 is like double kill, triple kill, overkill, Bloodborne again because I bought a PS4 just to...
Basically, all of the FromSoft games are always going to help because it's FromSoft, but FromSoft is a Japanese company, so they're not going to care much about Xbox.
Play that game and it was worth the $400. Microsoft started doing the whole Xbox plus PC thing where any exclusive Xbox game would also be on PC. Well, apparently except certain games like Halo 5. They needed that one to be a system seller. Halo 5, Guardians, oh man, the campaign just sucks, and I really think that 343 is a really talented team, but they just fully missed the bar aesthetically when it comes to Halo 4 and 5. The multiplayer, while it didn't really feel like Halo, it felt really fresh and new and snappy, and you have the dodge move, and I actually played the shit out of it, but like, bro, this is Halo. This is supposed to be the exclusive. It can't just be meh or an underrated gem talked about years later by video essayist fucks like me. Again, imagine if Nintendo made a Mario game and he had to run around the castle in this fug-ass armor. Xbox does pretty bad this generation, all said and done, but let's wipe away all that. Fresh restart. What do we have prepared for next gen, Phil?
Yeah, it's square. It looks like a boring monolith, but it fits wherever you put it. But they've just kind of accepted that it's essentially just a PC purely focused on gaming because that's what it looks like and that's what it is.
What? Why do you do this, Microsoft? Why do you insist on having the most confusing branding possible? Why couldn't you even just stick with Xbox Scarlet or call it Xbox 720 like everyone wanted to? Fuck it. Call it the Xbox 5 even though it doesn't make sense because at least people at the store will see PS5, oh, Xbox 5, that must mean it's the new one. There are people still confused on whether they should buy an Xbox One S or an Xbox Series S, and also you realize how phonetically similar S and X sound, right, Michael? The Series consoles are actually amazing deals for their price points and are really well made, and I actually prefer the Xbox controller over any other controller when playing modern games. But holy shit, Microsoft, you are so bad at marketing. Okay, f the names, who even cares? What kind of games do we have cooking up for this generation, Phil? Halo Infinite is gonna be a launch title, and it's open world, and there's a grappling hook? This actually looks fun as hell. I can't wait to try it out. Wait, but it's on the back of my box. And the thing is, when Infinite finally came out, I thought it was really good, and I'm sure it definitely needed that extra year of development time considering that when it came out, it was still missing core features like co-op. But the multiplayer is some of the best it has ever been, and it's free. The new abilities and grappling hook are amazing. The open world campaign scale and length are a bit of a letdown, but the actual gameplay and visuals and sound truly feel like Halo for the first time in years. I played the shit out of this on my PC that I already own using Steam. Like many PC gamers, I've already invested so much time and money into my Steam library, so if I'm gonna play something on PC, I'm likely gonna seek it out in my familiar ecosystem, habitat, enclosure, if you will. PS5 launches.
Steam is using what Microsoft should be doing and is partially doing with their Game Pass, because Steam makes it so you have a constant account and a constant library that you always want to be able to use. And if you want new games, you might have to upgrade your PC. But that's it. Meanwhile, the other consoles are like, well, they don't care about playing old games, right? Yes, we do. We love our old games that we grew up on. I still play Final Fantasy X every other year or so because I still love it so much. But whatever, I'm getting off the point.
Is with exclusive games that I want to play and promise sequels to IPs that I want to play. So if I already have a PC and I'm going to drop $400 on a console and Xbox is putting their games on Steam, Where exactly does Xbox come into this picture? Are they just like a publisher now? You'd think they'd want to put really desirable exclusives only on Xbox services to try to get people to buy an Xbox over a PS5, or at least use the shitty Xbox app over Steam, but no, instead, what does Xbox do? Buy and buy that too! Microsoft will acquire you! We don't need to make good games, we have so much money! We have so much fucking money! Mojang, 2.5 billion, ZeniMax, 7.5 billion, Activision, Blizzard King, 69 billion! Shutting down studios and laying off a ton of devs, even though the FTC said, hey, don't do that after you acquired this whole thing. Priceless! But there is a price. The price is right. Watch it on Xbox all night. Keep it tight. I'm so confused by this strategy, because it's like you own all these popular IPs now, but you don't want to make them exclusive and miss out on the massive multi-platform revenue because Xbox is like the smallest consumer base. So eventually these IPs might become exclusive, and inevitably Microsoft being Microsoft would jack up the price of Game Pass because, again, $69 billion. And again, this is Microsoft we're talking about. Remember the Windows Vista September? Oh, the price of Game Pass already increased after Microsoft spent so much fucking money to put games like Diablo and Call of Duty on there? Cool, got it, awesome, wicked sick. But even with this current price, Game Pass remains a really convincing deal if you're just now getting into gaming, because there is a serious bang for your buck backlog of great games on there. But that's just not the case for so much of the existing games.
And I gotta call out, and I'm immediately seeing like awesome games that I would go back to play, like Psychonauts is awesome. Playing Doom 64 sounds like fun. Titanfall is something that I always wanted to play but never got a chance to. And maybe I don't care much about Banjo-Tooie, but still, I never even got the chance to play any of the Fable games because they were only on Xbox and I didn't have an Xbox. In general, the Game Pass is pretty nice and probably worth it, but you can also use your Game Pass in a lot of places. But whatever.
There. But that's just not the case for so much of the existing gaming audience. Dude, we've played a lot of these games, and you're not gonna get new people who have never played these games if they don't even know which fucking console to buy at Best Buy. Phil Spencer has said a lot of things, and there is no shortage of quotes that you could take out of context that are really clickbaity, like how he passed up on super successful franchises like Guitar Hero or Destiny, or how his email dream is to one day acquire Nintendo. He seems like a nice enough guy who does genuinely love video games and making them as accessible to as many people as possible, which is fantastic. I mean, he's still likely a multi-millionaire who's got to keep his job regardless of Xbox's missteps, while others did not get to keep their jobs, and certain studios are just straight up in the ground now because, whoops, we spent too much money acquiring you, now we will be firing you. And one of the many quotes that Phil has said is, we're not in the business of out-consoling Sony or out-consoling Nintendo. There isn't really a great solution or win for us. I know that will upset a ton of people, but it's just the truth of the matter. When you're third place in the console marketplace and the top two players are as strong as they are and, in certain cases, have very discrete focus on doing deals and other things, make being on Xbox hard as a team. That's on us, not on anybody else. Our vision is that everybody that's on console has to feel like they have a great experience and they're a first-class citizen. They've invested a ton in our platform. I see commentary that if you just build great games, everything would turn around. It's just not true that if we go off and build great games, all of a sudden you're going to see console shares shift in some dramatic way. We lost the worst generation to lose in the Xbox One generation when everybody built their digital library of games. Phil, I strongly disagree. Not about the Xbox One failing part, that one is for sure facts, but the other games part. The games are the whole freaking thing. It's why I'm screaming at a camera right now while Halo music plays, because you made a good game that literally sold consoles with zero prior brand recognition. The Switch is an underpowered 720p looking ass piece of shit tablet that still obliterates Sony and Microsoft when it comes to sales, because you know why? The moving pictures that I control with my hands. Every new Nintendo console requires you to say bye-bye to your prior digital library of games you've purchased, but guess what? We all fucking do it anyways because we gotta see that boy in red. Xbox.
Yeah, people have an insane amount of nostalgia for Nintendo Switch games, or for anything Nintendo, and Nintendo's great about coming out with their exclusives, and they know that people will buy their console for the exclusives. Everybody should learn that.
is a Microsoft company that has proved time and time again that they don't give a shit about polish or consistency or trust with their consumers. So it's like, yeah, you might be in a hole, but you didn't magically get there overnight, Shia LaBeouf. There's a reason I still pay for Max or Hulu, or my ex-girlfriend's boyfriend does, and I use their login on my Roku TV. I pay for Hulu to watch exclusive shows like The Bear. I pay for Max to watch exclusive shows like Barry for the billionth time. I don't pay for Game Pass or use the Xbox app to play Starfield. I don't play Starfield on Steam either. I don't want to play any more Starfield. Please don't make me play more Starfield. Todd, I love you and I want Elder Scrolls to be good and I believe in you, but don't make me play Starfield. I truly hope Xbox continues to exist and Game Pass remains a good deal for as long as possible. I hope studios like Bethesda and Blizzard put out more classics while under the umbrella of Xbox, even though other studios will no longer ever get that chance because they're literally dead. We need good games on Xbox and Xbox Game Pass because we need good competition. But what we really need is to put every David Cage game on Game Pass. David Cage's Rise Up. Thank you for watching my video. Ball Creative Game Pass subscription.
All right. I am slightly disappointed he didn't cover more of Microsoft, but it was already like a decently long video. I will concede that I've always known Microsoft has terrible, terrible marketing. They're never great about it, and they need to do better about it. That's why the Zune failed, despite the fact that it was superior to the iPod in every single way. But outside of that, I think Microsoft does have some issues with Windows, but I would still rather use it than something like a Mac any day, because Mac tries to cater too much of their, or customize and cater their own apps so much that it makes it so you can't get the things you want. And I'm not going to try gaming on a Mac because that's just not possible 90% of the time. So yeah, Windows has its faults. It should probably stop trying to force the accessibility when it just makes the entire experience worse. And it should stop trying to make me update every 2 seconds. And yeah, it's got a couple bad iterations, but overall, I think it's at an okay place now. And Windows Edge is surprisingly good now, despite the past garbage that it used to be with Internet Explorer. But Internet Explorer is just kind of a remnant of the past at this point. Thank whoever you worship at that point. But I'm surprised that he only talked about basically gaming in Windows. I mean, I'm not surprised because he talks about a lot of gaming stuff on his channel, but still, like, I kind of wish he dove a bit more into some of the other stuff, because there's so much more to dig into with Microsoft that would be so valuable to this argument. But that being said, I think Microsoft should just kind of stick to computers most of the time. If they want to make great games, cool. Having a third console does help with competition, which I appreciate, but at this point, most people are going to play a PC anyways, if they really want to be in deep with things. That being said, this was Nakey Jakey. I love his stuff. Watch more of it. I'll put a link down in the description.